let's do IKEA this weekend. Let's do the canal next weekend. And then the we, which is what matters most, is going to be the most full over the next several weekends, rather than us both feeling like one of us had to compromise or the other. And so there is a way to integrate.
If our needs aren't met by our caregivers, the one who give birth to us and whatnot, then what do you think the rest of the world is going to do, right?
Exactly.
The rest of the world isn't friendly. So fast forwarding this, if we understand that and build that belief very young, that ends up carrying into our adult life. Conscious couples, business partners, and singles committed to attracting their dream partner. Welcome to the Conscious Couples podcast, where we share our life, love story, and combined relationship expertise to help you create and consistently cultivate the most magnificent, intimate relationship possible.
Never again will you feel hopeless and alone in your intimate relationship challenges.
Having accumulated thousands of hours coaching conscious couples and individuals all over the world, as well as starting and growing a global business together, Alan and I are here to guide you in all things relationships.
Thank you again for tuning into the one place where it's not about you or me, it's about the we. Conscious couples and conscious singles all over the world, welcome back to the Conscious Couples podcast, where we take you on a journey, all things intimate relationships. Love is the best part of life, especially intimate love. And it also is the greatest source of pain if you are not in alignment. So before we jump in, as always, we want to give a shout out to the Next Level Podcast Solutions team for producing this show. Thank you so much. Audio, video, all of the above. Today, for episode number 27, we have honoring what you value guilt-free. The key words there are guilt-free. We've talked a lot about core values. We've talked a lot about honoring your core values, which is boundaries. We've talked about boundaries. What we're going to talk about today, essentially, is how do you give yourself the permission to express your truth in situations where maybe you feel like you should compromise. Maybe you have a value, something that you want to do or accomplish that is in direct conflict with something else you want to do or accomplish, or your partner and what's important to them. So I'm going to open this up. No, I'm not. Ladies first. Emilia and I both have a story, though, that articulates one of those small moments where we could suppress our truth and appease, or we can have the courage to vulnerably express what we value in a time when it feels challenging to integrate what she wants and what I want. And we both have a really good example of that. So this is something that is really challenging for intimate relationships. And if you're single, trust me, you're going to deal with this in your next intimate relationship. So we're super pumped to help you.
Well, it's not also too, this is not just like what we're going to be talking about today is something that doesn't just happen in intimate relationships. As a matter of fact, this, if anything, this is something that just naturally is it's so natural for a lot of people because a lot of it is our conditioning in our very primal social groups. So in our family, we're raised to be a certain way, to act and behave in a specific manner, and that ends up being pulled into and brought into our intimate relationships. And so in an intimate relationship, something that is so incredible, something that is so close to the heart, it almost magnifies this particular instance when it comes to interactions in intimate relationships. And so that makes this topic all the more important to talk about because of the fact that this is magnified, where it is challenging inevitably to honor what you value and to do so guilt-free. And we find all over the place, and I know I've experienced this as well in my past growing up and with certain friends and with certain past relationships, honoring what I valued without a guilt trip. And so for anyone who is out there listening, I want you to think while you listen to this episode, something that you wanted to do at the very basic level, something that you wanted to do and you wanted to involve someone, be it your intimate partner or a past intimate partner, where you really wanted to do it, but then all of a sudden you brought it to your partner, and then all of a sudden you kind of were taking a couple steps back because of their experience, their response to whatever that was. and you started to kind of backpedal a little bit about what you wanted, or in this essence, what you valued, whether it was how you spent your day or what you thought about a certain thing. And you didn't really feel the support from your partner. As a matter of fact, you actually felt like questions, or like you had to defend what you wanted or what you valued, or even the little pokes or the little jabs or the little nitpicks that came in manipulative guilt trips. And my intention in this episode is, Alan asked me this before this podcast. This episode in particular, I find that women really, really struggle with. And I'm not just saying it's just women, but I notice a huge pattern on this regard. But I want to say, my intention for this episode is to make sure that we're understanding the importance, how important it is to honor what you value and not fawning. So fawning, in an essence, it's one of the 4 F's that we refer to, and we've referred to it in many different podcast episodes as like the different fight responses. So when you feel kind of backed into a corner, or you express something that you want to do with your partner or something that you believe in, and it's not fully supported, what often happens is our brain goes into shutdown mode, where we either fight, flight, or freeze. And the 4th one is fawn. And so fawning is very common in instances where you are expressing your values or you're acting within your values. And why? Fawning essentially will look like, well, let me backpedal and let me kind of put your needs, someone else's needs, above your own.
Give an example of that, love.
So an example of this comes to, like, for example, we had this last Sunday, I had like a weird voice that came to me in my sleep Saturday night. Literally woke up with this voice saying, you need to go to IKEA, this place. They have plants there. And it's so funny because it's like, what? That doesn't make sense. So I was like, okay, cool. Listen to this voice. The next morning, you had asked me, it's a Sunday. Typically we like do home optimization stuff, and we set up the week for success. Our listeners know that.
And by home optimization stuff, laundry, meal prep, cooking, cleaning, trash, recycling. We get the house fully set up for the upcoming week.
Yeah.
And we also review the previous week, and we schedule as well. And we have those things that we typically do every Sunday, just so everyone knows what home optimization actually is.
Thank you, love.
Yep.
Yeah. So with that, typically, I don't want to say it's a very structured day, because in comparison to all of our other days, it's the least structured, I would say, and the most flowy, if you will. But that, if we're going to be doing any sort of adventure or something outside of the box, usually Sunday is that day for it. And so this voice that came to me definitely pulled at that string of, let's go outside of the box. And so I had shared with Alan, babe, I want to go to IKEA. Let's go to IKEA. Have you ever been? And so it's a whole thing, and it's a whole trip. And for anyone who has experienced the IKEA experience, you know what we're talking about here. It's a whole day thing.
This was my first time.
This was Alan's first. He didn't even really know like how far away it was. It's like an hour away from where we are. And so like when we actually started to talk about it and say what it's going to require, I noticed myself going into kind of a fawning state, which was, oh, well, okay, well, it is going to be an hour's drive away. And then Alan's response was like, an hour drive? Like, he was surprised. And I interpreted that as like he doesn't support what I want to do, what I value, which was adventure, right? In that moment, that going to an IKEA to get plants, there's so many other, it's a value stack for me. I started to kind of in that moment backpedal and say, wait a second, like this is going to take away from our Sunday. And I started to in real time kind of gaslight myself and question my own values. And this is what fawning looks like in the flesh. And it can be so small and it can be swept under the rug. And I could have told myself a story that this wasn't important to me, that I didn't want to do that, you know what, it's fine. We can just do whatever we typically do. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, it's totally fine. That's what fawning looks like. And so we oftentimes see in intimate relationships, this happens all the time. A lot of people are afraid to speak up in their intimate relationships and really honor what you value, because what we do in that split second is we interpret our partner's response or reaction of something that we're bringing to them in terms of what we value as a social, I would say like not belonging. How do you describe it? It's like, you fear not being on the same page. And because intimate relationships are such a great area to where you can be on the same page and love is abundant and all that jazz, the last thing you want to do is put a wedge in between you and your partner because of what you value and what you want. So to that extent, not fawning is so important because you are able to express what you value. And I'm really grateful, babe, because in that moment you were noticing in real time that I was starting to subconsciously fawn a little bit, and you caught us in that moment and said, babe, I don't want you to make you feel bad for it. Like, how important to you is this? I just need to know so that I can be fully on board with you. And you had asked me 0 to 10, babe, how important is this to you? And I like sat in the moment. I was like, oh, well, it's like, you know, it's like an 8, it's like a 9. And it's like in that real time, there's a part of me that's present that is like, well, if I say a 10 out of 10, is that going to disconnect us? Is that going to put us on a different page? And like, the last thing I want to do on the one day where we really can connect after, you know, such a long week is be disconnected because of what I want and because what I value, you know. It's not about me and it's not about you. It's about the we. And I want to find ways within integrity, within what I value to bring us together. And that's truly all what is underneath these fears in the real time. But a lot of couples, and I notice this, aren't as conscious in those moments and will backpedal, will fawn, and will not honor what they value. And on top of that, their partner will actually guilt them for what they want and for what they value and for what they need.
Or make fun of it or something like that.
Yeah.
So just to provide a little more context, if you don't mind, love. So, and thank you, well said. So I want to share a little bit more on the backstory because it seems like, oh, okay, let's go to IKEA, no big deal. But we had also wanted to do we have a specific canal that we've been wanting to walk and do a hike and a picnic. So on this day, we wanted to accomplish all the home stuff, laundry, cooking, meal prep, set up the house for success and all that stuff. Plus, we both had our own individual work we wanted to do.
Yeah.
And we also wanted to take Tucker to the canal. And we wanted to do like a picnic and we wanted to go get food and have lunch together. And then we also wanted to go to IKEA. So originally when you had suggested IKEA, I thought, oh, okay, a half hour there and back. I didn't know it was an extravagant. IKEA's it's a trip. It's a whole thing. Yeah. Not in a negative way, but it's a adventure, right?
They make it like
it like an adventure.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that it was that far away. So that's an hour there, hour back, plus an hour at least at IKEA because we don't want to do 2 hours of driving for 1 hour, less than an hour of actual quality time. And so essentially what it really was we're going to have to choose because Emilia and I tend to be very optimistic with time and we want to accomplish everything on Sunday. And we wanted to do the canal. We wanted to go to the gym. We wanted to take Tucker. We wanted to do picnic and lunch. And we wanted to go to IKEA and we wanted to do laundry and meal prep, all that stuff. So when I was reluctant about the IKEA thing, a lot of that was just, okay, we have too much. We're doing what we do, which is we put too much on our plate.
Yep.
And then we get to the end of the day feeling like we didn't accomplish a lot, when in reality we accomplished so much. And so what we decided to do, which was really cool, is number one, I asked her, how important is this to you from 0 to 10? And I said, you don't need to justify to me why this is important to you.
So great.
I just want to know how important it really is because I want to make sure that we're doing what's important to you.
Yeah.
Okay? And then I literally asked, what's more important today for you? Is it going to the canal because it was a nice day out with Tucker and the picnic, or was it IKEA? And your truth was IKEA, but as a mom wanting to take Tucker and involve him, and I also obviously wanted the canal too, Emilia could have fawned in that moment and been like, well, let me put Tucker's and Alan's needs above my own.
Yeah.
And then eventually that can erode your self-esteem, that can build resentment for me and for Tucker or whatever.
Yeah, not honoring like what fills my cup.
Exactly.
Because I convince or gaslight myself to think that like filling other people's cup
is more
before
important.
Mine is more important.
And sustainable, which is not. It's not. And so I just wanted to provide a little bit of that context. Of course, love, of course. And so now what we decided, and this is the cool part, once you identify, okay, IKEA, awesome, let's rock and roll. Let's take the canal off the list for today, and we'll put it on the list for next weekend.
Yeah, let's roll it on over.
And let's roll it on over the next weekend. So now this weekend, we're going to be going to the canal and do a picnic with subs with Tucker in the park. It's not a park, but there's like a spot that I'm thinking of that I think will be really nice that he'll love. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And so what Emilia took as I don't want to go to IKEA was actually I really want to do the canal.
Yeah.
You know, and that's another thing So you got to sometimes sit in these moments and express truth. And so I wrote this down.
Hi, my name is Lynn. I got to had the privilege of recently meeting with Alan and Emilia on one of their free sessions talking about relationships. So I am 42, I'm single, and I'm trying to figure out what it is that I'm doing wrong. So working with them will help me figure out what are my standards, what do I want in my future partner, what can I do to attract that partner. How can I, find someone where I could develop a long-lasting relationship with? Just from our brief conversation, I know that they have formulas. I mean, there's formulas, there's processes, there's strategic ways to go about, attracting the right people in your life, maintaining those relationships, how to communicate and grow together. So I am grateful that I connected with them, and I look forward to where this takes me in my future. All right, thanks. Bye.
The permission to express your truth. That's really all it is. Like the permission to express at least what is most important to you. And then what if I express what's most important to me? Now we have accurate data. Now we can actually, okay, now let's integrate. Let's do IKEA this weekend. Let's do the canal next weekend. And then the we, which is what matters most, is going to be the most full over the next several weekends, rather than us both feeling like one of us had to compromise or the other. And so there is a way to integrate. Even when there's not a way to integrate, at least you can say, okay, it looks like we can't integrate. You're going to go to IKEA and I'll take Tucker to the canal.
Yeah.
And that could have been an option too.
For sure.
But it never would be if you had too much fear and just appeased
Right.
or compromised what you value. So honoring what you value guilt-free, that's what this episode is about, is are you expressing what you truly value most? Or are you constantly defending and feeling attacked and trying to like get your partner to see what you value? And then more importantly too, is your partner open to learning what you value even if they don't value it? This is a tiny little small example.
Love that.
But in the beginning of you and I's relationship, you and I went to make mini pies. We were in the grocery store. This is the first time we ever shopped together.
Oh man.
Early on, and
story.
you turned to me. And I'm being playful and fun in the grocery store, which I apparently do, as I don't know
Whenever
why.
he's out in public, Alan starts to get like a 6-year-old.
Yeah.
And it's like just performing and playful and so
in
funny.
IKEA, I may or may not have been like a dinosaur hiding in the plant bushes.
Yeah,
which was kind of fun.
We had a blast.
Emilia will probably post a reel, but I don't know if you will or not. But no big deal. So, anyways, we're being playful in grocery store, and I think that's probably what prompted you asking, like, "Oh, do you like grocery shopping?" And I, in that moment, was like, "Am I going to tell her that I like grocery shopping when I don't? No, I can't do that. I'm just going to be honest with her always. No, I don't like grocery shopping. I probably never will. I never have. But that doesn't mean I won't do it. And that doesn't mean that I won't do it with you if you do love it." And I used Euclid's axioms and common notions, which is a mathematical thing that I'm not going to get into. But essentially that which is equal to the same thing is equal to each other. So I said, if you love grocery shopping and I love you, then I can learn to love grocery shopping because I love you.
That's such an open mindset belief too, which I'm so grateful you hold.
I tried to. Because if I value Emilia, then I inherently must value... that's the alarm's going off. If I value Emilia, this is my belief. If I value Emilia at the deepest level, then I must value what Emilia values. Even if it's something that I don't personally on my own accord value.
Right.
And I think that that's what honoring your partner is. I really do. And there are times in my past where there was too much conflict in our core values and core aspirations where I couldn't sustainably honor my own values and honor theirs.
Right.
And that's a whole nother episode.
Whole nother thing.
But that's just what I wanted to share, babe. So.
Oh, well, you had a moment the other night where I was really glad that you didn't Ferberize yourself. And when I say Ferberize, this is kind of going back to, I have on my remarkable here that our values are an equal representation of our needs. Our needs, our wants, our deepest desires, our basic human needs. And Ferberizing yourself is essentially a word that I put out there kind of for that Fawning of like not acknowledging or admitting what your needs are or what your values are. So there was a psychologist, developmental psychologist way back in the 1970s that wrote a book that talked about the Ferber method, Dr. Ferber. And essentially what...
Dr. Ferber?
Dr. Ferber.
If you've ever seen Meet the Fockers, the movie Meet the Fockers, we're doing the Ferberizing method.
Exactly.
And then the male character in the movie, the Fockers, that family, the Fockers, Fockers, they say, "Oh, we did the Fokker method," which was just showering with love and meeting the needs.
The complete opposite. Yep. Well done, babe. Wow.
Thank you,
I'm always amazed by your movie references. His memory is amazing. Okay, so anyways, you didn't Ferberize yourself the other night, and I was really, really grateful. So Dr. Ferber essentially wrote a whole theory and thesis which, by the way, a lot of boomer generations adopted from a parenting style, which was when your baby cries, let him cry it out. And that was like, obviously I'm paraphrasing a huge research study done, but like at the end of the day, the theory was around attachment. And if you happen to meet the needs of your baby, who by the way is physiologically unable and incapable of meeting their own needs, right? Like a baby can't bring themselves to its mother's breast or can't bring itself to water or can't, literally it needs help, right? And so it's dependent on its caregivers until a certain age. And then you go through different levels of attachment. But essentially Dr. Ferber wrote this book and it became wildly adopted in the boomer generation, which essentially like everyone.
For those of you who are global and don't know baby boomers, so in American culture, after World War II, whenever I think it's like 13 million people were involved in World War II for Americans, 13 million Americans, when they came home in the early 1950s after World War II ended, they all started families and bought homes, and there was a whole initiative in the finance. The government gave really low interest rates it's called the GI Bill. And so everyone bought homes and started families. So there's a huge generation of baby boomers. Anyone who was born between 1945 and 1955 is essentially a quote-unquote baby boomer in our country. So for the global listeners, I just wanted to
that's awesome.
give reference.
So that generation and the generation thereafter, really this how to raise your kid, this spread like wildfire. You raise your kid by like, let them cry it out, right? If you've ever heard that, that's the Ferberizing method. And why I mentioned that and why we should care about that.
Which
and
is what I still do at the gym. I'm just joking.
Why we should really, we definitely do that sometimes for ourselves, but like let yourself cry it out, right? As a parent, you want to, like there was a lot of people that adopted that belief because it was quote unquote good for attachment. And so really like at the end of the day, parents weren't meeting the physiological needs of their children. And so there's this huge belief of like, oh, we did enough, we did as much as we could. And that's widely accepted. So anyways, fast forward, that impact of parents not meeting the physiological needs of their children because they're too afraid of their kid getting way too attached to them. That's actually translated into so many generations of lots of fawning, which means people putting other people's needs above their own and feeling
because they're fearful that they
won't actually have their needs met.
Have their needs met,
right? By if their needs aren't met, we develop this belief very young as a result of this. If our needs aren't met by our caregivers, the one who give birth to us and whatnot, then what do you think the rest of the world is going to do? Right?
Exactly.
The rest of the world isn't friendly. So fast forwarding this, if we understand that and build that belief very young, that ends up carrying into our adult life. And it's so common and sometimes even celebrated when we self-sacrifice at the expense of other people. So like, for example, the other night, why I bring this up is because you didn't Ferberize yourself. You met your needs. You didn't ignore your needs and give you put your needs first, which is really important. And what did you say to me?
So, I just wanted to provide context to this example. So the other night, Emilia and I always, after we're done work, we like to go to the gym together. Love it. Awesome. I wanted to wait to go to the gym. After work, I like to start transitioning to the gym, into gym mode, because I want to get home and do R&R mode.
Yep.
And I don't like to R&R prior to that because it's kind of like then I have to ramp myself back up and motivate myself again and all that. And so having 161 days in a row of 30 minutes of exercise, it's like, listen, I got to go get this thing done so that I can actually take some R&R, which I desperately need. So I want to, here's the core values in conflict. Ready?
Yeah.
I want to go to the gym with Emilia, but I also want to go to the gym earlier so that I can come back and take R&R.
Yeah.
Emilia still had one more call for a half an hour, and I was outside her office essentially resting and relaxing, about to eat some food. And I was like, you know what? I don't know if I want to do this. And so Emilia came over. I essentially said, babe, you're like, are you going to go to the gym? And I was like, I'm going to wait to go to the gym with you. But you could kind of tell I was in that inner civil war of, I want to go to the gym with Emilia, but I also want to get the gym over with so that I can get home and actually get some good R&R. And so she closed her door to the office. She's like, I'll be done in half an hour. Honestly, let's go. And she was excited too, because she loves to go to the gym with me as well.
Love it.
Best thing ever. Okay. Favorite gym partner of all time. Just saying.
Same.
Okay. So I actually came into her room, opened the door to her office. I said, babe, honestly, I'm going to go to the gym. I got to do this. I got to do this. I don't want to relax and wait. I want to go.
Honor yourself.
Yeah. And so essentially what I did was I honored what I value with massive guilt. I'm kidding. No. It was totally guilt-free. I'm joking.
Good.
I'm being playful, babe.
Good.
Just being playful. But that's just another example of give yourself permission to say, listen, sweetheart, I do love you and I do want to go to the gym with you, of course, but I really want to go right now.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to do that, and I'll catch you later.
Yeah.
In this evening. And that ended up being,
Proud of
this
you.
was last night, by the way.
Yes.
That ended up being one of the best nights we've ever had.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. So this whole Ferber
amazing.
thing, I don't know who Dr. Ferber is,
I know,
but
he
he's going to
needs
have to
definitely a reality check.
reevaluate his thesis. So I wrote this down, free to fly. I was free to fly. I was free to go. And in the best way, and she trusted that we'll get great workouts in other days. You know, it's an infinite, abundant growth mindset.
Yes.
So don't let anyone Ferber you. Okay. Before we go here, conscious individuals, conscious couples, we do monthly relationship talks events. If you're a new listener, we do them every single month, okay? They're completely private. You don't even have to have your camera on or your microphone. You can engage as much as you want, or you can just listen in on your way home from work, whatever it is. September 8th, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we are having a monthly Relationship Talks virtual event for the month of September on overcoming the fixed mindset in your relationship. What I've found is that if you have a fixed mindset in your intimate relationship, you have a deep belief that it cannot improve or that you cannot improve. So every challenge becomes a giant mirror you don't want to look in because you don't believe that you're going to be able to change or improve. So if you've ever met someone who really avoids feedback, no matter how constructive that feedback is, it's most likely because they have a deep inner belief that they can't change or don't want to change or will be forced to change or whatever it is. But there's a fixed mindset underneath there. So we're going to go through what a fixed mindset is, what it means. Carol Dweck's book, I just finished it in the Next Level Book Club. There's this one page that is the best. I have it saved and I want to bring that because it talks about the brain and it talks about fixed mindset versus growth mindset and all the repercussions of each, all in one framework.
I know exactly.
So join us. Thank you, babe. So join us September 8th, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The link to register will be in the show notes. You'll literally get an email with your specific custom Zoom link with the day and time. You can add it to your calendar or you can just save that email and wait for the day. We hope to see you there.
Yeah, we hope to see you there too. And one thing too, like I consider myself a very growth-oriented human being, but I'm uncovering limiting beliefs or beliefs that don't necessarily serve me in specific areas of my life, like all the time. So it's something that I get really excited for now because when I think that I'm up against it or I have a challenge in my life, I really like just look at that and say, okay, where might I have a fixed mindset that I don't really know about? And having that humility has served me so much and so many of our clients too. So we hope to see you there. In addition to that too, if you don't want to wait until the end of the month, we do make sure that Alan and I, we love our community so much and we really do want to be there for each one of you who are listening, especially if you feel like you're struggling in this arena, this topic or any other topic. Trust me, like this relationship stuff, it's not talked about enough. And we really believe it's so important to provide a safe, judgment-free space where you can have someone to talk to about this stuff. So every single Saturday, Alan and I make sure that we have 30 minutes dedicated to our community. The link will be in the show notes. We're not going to sell you on anything. We just want to hear what you're going through. And if we can provide any support, trust me, we've changed people's worlds in those 30 minutes. And, you know, I can't tell you enough how much it can do for your relationship. So if you're struggling, if you want a judgment-free place where you can express what you're going through. We are here to support you, and we can't wait to meet you.
Those are one-on-ones. They're completely private. Super, super excited to meet you. We love to meet our listeners. If you feel like you're the only one into this stuff, trust me, you're not. Come join us. We would love to talk all things relationships. As always, thank you for listening. It is not about you or me. It's about the we. We'll talk to you next time.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks for joining us for another episode of the Conscious Couples podcast. We love connecting with the Conscious Couples community, so please make sure you follow us on Instagram. I am at Evolve with Emilia, and Alan is a Lazaros 88.
Also, if you or your partner resonated with this episode, leave us a review at the link in the show notes, and please share this with someone you love and care about.
Until next time, remember, it's not about you or me. It's about
the we.